Yeah, let me get a large Burger Town Boom Boom box with extra Boom Boom sauce, please. Thank you.
Everybody's thinking about me, but I feel alright. Everybody's out again, but I feel alright.
Well, you can colour me several shades of surprised that Modern Warfare 2 was out this week. What a shocker that is. You'd think the sequel to 2019's Modern Warfare would be launched with a little bit more pomp and circumstance, but no, it was just suddenly, here it is on the PlayStation Network. Only on the PlayStation Network till April 30th, and everyone else is allowed to play it. I don't know if this sequel to Modern Warfare was announced beforehand, but it's certainly the first I'd heard of it was when I was on the PlayStation Store and I saw it. And I said, oh look, weird that... Oh, obviously, I'm being facetious. This is, of course, Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, which is a sequel to Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, not Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which isn't a remaster of Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, it's a brand new game called Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Activision has never, ever confused its customers, ever in the history of ever. Although, interestingly enough, I believe Modern Warfare 2 was going to be at one point just called Modern Warfare, with the Call of Duty a sort of legacy title, though that could have been Modern Warfare 3. I think it was Modern Warfare 2, but it could have been Modern Warfare 3, but they didn't do that in the end because it was confusing the customers to have Modern Warfare, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and then just Call of Duty. It was a whole sprawling mess, but that's what Activision does with its franchises. I don't know if you remember, they released 10 Guitar Hero games in 1 year, and incidentally, that was the year that the market for rhythm games sort of fell apart. Anyway, this is Modern Warfare 2 Remastered. It's a remaster of Modern Warfare 2, which some argue was the best Call of Duty game, and had the best Call of Duty campaign. Certainly, if not that, then the best of the Modern Warfare campaigns. I mean, it's no Modern Warfare 3, which is, of course, the perfect video game that doesn't have any flaws and is an 11 out of 10 for any sensible human being. Modern Warfare 2's campaign is okay, and interestingly, that's all that's included in this version of the game. It's Modern Warfare 2 Remastered campaign. Doesn't have the multiplayer component. Maps from Modern Warfare 2 were, I believe, put into 2019's Modern Warfare. And considering they've got Modern Warfare still, and Call of Duty Warzone, it's not a stupid idea to further split the player base. Right now, Call of Duty Warzone and Call of Duty Modern Warfare, while they are connected intrinsically, it is still a splitting of the player base between those playing regular Modern Warfare and those playing Warzone. So it is just the campaign, and as I said, many consider it the best campaign, or certainly one of the best campaigns. It's quite good. It's still Call of Duty. It's lots of people saying, ooh-ah, stay frosty, Tango, Charlie Actual, this is Foxtrot, I've sequenced the genome, all that kind of stuff, you know. There are enemies at the Burger Town, and you've got to go to the... I like it when campaigns are set in an invasion of America, because soldiers have to say things like secure the Burger Town, or in the first Homefront game, enemies in the Hooters. And there were enemies at the Hooters, and you shot them with your gun until there were no more enemies in the Hooters. You got to protect the Hooters. It's the American way. By the way, I do appreciate the boldness of Modern Warfare 2 releasing at this time, simply because it harkens back to a time where it was feasible that Russia could launch an invasion of America, theoretically if not practically, whereas today we have a president that would simply say, which bit of America would you like, sir? So that's an interesting throwback to a simpler time, as is the whole campaign, really. This is kind of a snapshot of what single-player games, especially in shooters, were like at the time. A lot of time spent just following other people, who have more investment in the story than you do because you're more or less a camera operator with a gun. You do what you're told. Many is the mission where the objective marker simply says follow, and you have to follow Keith David or whoever who are telling you what to do, and you've got to follow their orders exactly perfectly. And if you run too far ahead, there's a good chance you'll die. This is especially notable in the stealth sections, which really, it's not a stealth section, it's just follow the leader, it's just do what, it's following orders, the video game, and in a way, gentle listener, is that not the point? Is that not the point of war? Sometimes you think to yourself, wow, I really am just a camera with a gun being told what to do. And isn't that the point, viewer? Anyway, this is one of those games from those days where you don't open doors yourself because the real characters with real investment, they open the doors, they lead the way. Except when you breach a door, because that was massively popular at the time as well for quite a few years. Breach the door, put a bomb on it, or kick it open if you're in a different game. And then the door flings open, and then it's slow motion for a bit, and then pa-cha, 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 pa-cha. That's the gun in slow motion shooting all the people behind the door. Breaches were massively popular back then. Of course, Modern Warfare 2 was famous for the controversy surrounding the level No Russian, where you are an undercover operative taking part in a terrorist attack, which involves gunning down dozens and dozens and dozens of innocent people in an airport before fighting your way through the police. And that caused a massive stir back in the day. These days, I think, these days they've really struggled to justify it, post all of the mass shootings we've had. Back in the day, it was still a thorny issue. One thing I noticed this time around was, I mean, I knew of it back then, but I didn't really think about it. That option you have before you start the campaign, the pop-up warning that says, before you start, let it be known something really edgy happens later, and you can choose not to experience that. Which really undermines its worth to the narrative and kind of reinforces the idea that Infinity Ward in this game, and in a few others following, were really just going for shock value than anything actually thematically important. If it was so ancillary to the story that you could check an option to not experience it, what was Infinity Ward really trying to say? But then again, what is Infinity Ward? What is the Modern Warfare? What is the Call of Duty series ever trying to say? I mean, you can have all these deep-sounding quotes after you die. Oh, Colin Powell says the no plan survives getting into a bit of a fight. And we're supposed to sit there and stroke our chins and say, yes, that's very true. It's very true. Naturally, of course, the game's just throwing quotes from other people because it's got nothing much to say itself, which is fine. It's just the game's pretending it's deeper than that when it isn't. The game plays well, as you might expect. You've got tons of guns and you shoot them. There are some memorable sequences. The levels that take place during the invasion of America. That famous, I mean, I've used some footage here, the shots of all the Russians sort of coming down in the parachutes while you fight through suburbs. There's a lot of striking sequences within this game, and as usual it goes through a different variety of things. You got your turret on a car being driven around, you've got little sneaky levels in the snow, you've got those moments where you're sending remote controlled missiles at things from a little computer screen. All of the hits, all of the classics. I do have an issue telling friend from foe. I don't remember having this issue, but then again, I've been playing through all the Killzone games lately, so if an enemy doesn't have glowing red eyes, I don't want to fucking know about it. But I did sometimes have trouble telling the enemies and the allies apart, and in a way, viewer, in a way, gentle viewer, is that not the point? Is that not the point that in a war, though there are sides, really we're all just people. We're all just people at the end of the day. Just trying to make a living, just trying to get through this wacky, zany, I dare say, thing we call life. Anyway, I better get wrapped up and go because they've woken up upstairs and they're clomping about. God, I fucking hate this place. I can't wait till lockdown's lifted. Once this whole pandemic thing's done, I'm gone. I'm out of it. I'm finding somewhere better. But that's neither here nor there. The point is that Modern Warfare 2 Remastered campaign, the single-player experience remastered, is fine. I mean, it's back in the day, it was fucking good. And mechanically, it doesn't feel all that aged, but then it's not like the series had major evolutions during now and then. But I will say it's directorially aged. These days, we do not have campaigns where the player is so much following someone else. There are a lot more voiced protagonists these days, and even ones that aren't, there's just so much more agency for the player. But nonetheless, it is still a nice throwback, especially, you know, in the age of the microtransaction, the age of the live service. You know, even though there was a multiplayer game attached to this once, going through the campaign is nice and nostalgic, is a reminder of if not better days, then better days for the mainstream game industry, I'll say that. Or at least the audiences for mainstream games. So yeah, you can play that if you want, or not. Makes no difference to me, really.